Hello and welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator video. In this video, we're going to talk about A Pilot's Life Chapter 2, which is a career mode for Microsoft Flight Sim, Microsoft Flight Sim 2024, and of course, X-Plane. Let's dive in. If you've been on the channel in the past, you know that I've used A Pilot's Life Chapter 2 an awful lot in the past. As you see on the screen here in the bottom right, I have about 744 flight hours using A Pilot's Life, and that is across 812 different flights. So yeah, and to be honest, I started using A Pilot's Life about a year and a half ago, and it took me a while to actually finally decide to jump into it. But once I did, my experience has been pretty darn good. Now, A Pilot's Life is available from SimBit World and is about 30 euros, and then obviously convert it to whatever dollar amount you have. It is an add-on that is a career mode per se, and it is ideally meant for people who want to do airliner experiences, and it is only available on PC. So unfortunately, you Xbox users will not have access to A Pilot's Life. So what is A Pilot's Life? Well, you get to start off as a pilot in one of these selected airlines that it chooses. And I think you get a choice of 5 airlines to choose from. And to do that, you'll be in the marketplace. And in the job marketplace, it will offer you those 5 airlines. So you can see down here, I got offered a couple different airlines. So you have 5 default ones to choose from, and you go ahead and sign one of those guys. From that point, you then will fly for that airline doing real world routes, which is the really cool part about A Pilot's Life. You also need to choose a starting aircraft. And to do that, you'll be in the shop. So you'll be given X number of money to make that purchase, and then you will choose your starting aircraft, and that's under aircraft licenses. And here is where it gets a little bit more complicated, because you get to choose a family for that aircraft. So example would be the Airbus A320, which is a very popular aircraft in Microsoft Flight Sim. If you choose this family for $2,500, you then have all the variants that come with it. So that's not too bad. So you can fly the 18, the 19, the 20, and 21, along with the Neo versions as well. So it gives a little bit of variety in that aircraft itself. The other options, of course, are you can do a Boeing 737. You have the Embraer family in there as well. As you can see, with the amount of hours I put into A Pilot's Life, I have a number of different licenses already for some of these airlines, or some of the aircraft. So I have the ATRs, the CRJs, I have both the Embraers. And so what I've done is I've chosen aircrafts that I fly the most. Now, as I said, it is primarily meant for airliner pilots, but it does have GA stuff under the general section here, and of course the Cessna here. It does have some of that GA stuff, and there's some Gulfstreams and etc. in there as well. But if you go into other has a whole bunch of stuff here. And the thing that's also unique about A Pilot's Life is that you are able to fly. Let's say there's an aircraft in here that you want to fly. Okay. But there's an aircraft you want to fly, but sorry, that's not in here. There's not a variant that's in here. Okay. Well, if you find something that's very similar to it, you can then fly it with A Pilot's Life. So that helps a little bit. For an example, the Cessna. The Cessna 208 would be compatible with the Kodiak. There's no Kodiak in here, but you can fly the 208, and that would at least track it. So as long as the features are similar in terms of the, the fuel and weight, that kind of jazz, if it has gear, that jazz, then you can fly it in comparison to that aircraft. So it doesn't actually have to be that exact same model. You can fly something that's very similar to it, and that's how I fly the Kodiak within A Pilot's Life. Okay, so yeah, now you have an aircraft, you have routes to fly, and then you go fly those. Okay, cool. Here's my recent schedule. So here's the flights I will be doing, and you do have to do them in order. Okay, so the next flight would be this top one here going into San Francisco. Gives you the distance, gives you the aircraft. Well, let's say I don't want to fly the Embraer. Well, if I go to flight here, this would start the flight itself. I can choose a different aircraft, and I can choose whatever my heart desires from the aircrafts that I have unlocked. And these would be the licenses. So any one of these aircrafts I can certainly go ahead and fly, which makes it a lot more compelling to want to fly. SkyWest, which I'm currently flying for, they only fly the CRJ and the Embraer aircrafts. Well, I don't always want to fly those. I want to fly, an Airbus or a Boeing or an ATR, and I can go ahead and do that. Obviously, it doesn't keep it within that realistic world, but you know what? We're in a sim, and we can fly the sim the way we want to fly our sims, right? And that's the really awesome part. So you can go ahead and choose whatever aircraft you like. Then you can click on this Sim Dispatch, and this will send it over to beautiful friends over at Sim Brief. And in here, you would choose your aircraft, and then you go ahead and generate, and this will be as normal. So it goes ahead and plugs in some of the information for you, so you don't always have to do that, which makes it an extra fun thing. And then you go ahead and start flying. Now this software does require another piece of software called FSUI PC to be installed and running with your sim. So once you have that software running in the background, it will show that it's connected. Once you are connected to the sim, it also tells you the stage you currently are within the flight. And that is important because you get graded on your flights, and that grade determines your amount of XP and the amount of cash you made on that flight. So for an example, here's all the flights I've done. If I go all the way down to the bottom one, you're going to see my very first flight right here was back in 2023, January 2023. So again, just about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. Actually, now that I stand corrected, it has been 2 years since I've actually been flying. But you see my first 5 flights were with this airline, and then I jumped over to Sun Country. Now looking at my very first flight, a 98 was my score, XP was 76. We can see where the flight was, we can see where it went to, we can see our call sign, we can see the sim I was using, so this would be 2020, and we can see our landing rate, which is here, 73, and we can see the XP we won. What I failed at though is my landing lights were not turned on, my strobe light was not turned on, so I got docked there. But all these different stages in the flight is where you get graded upon. And you gotta remember, every airline's a little bit different. Every airline has different stages where you have to have the landing lights on or off at. Some require it to be turned off at certain points, some turned on at a certain point. So you gotta keep that in mind as well. You can see the one that I get hit the most with would be the landing rate. That's my biggest hit altogether. But as you get more accustomed to the requirements of a pilot's life, you'll then understand the stages you have to complete. So I really like how simple it makes it, but also tries to keep it as realistic as possible with a career mode. Now it does have a community as well. It's not multiplayer, you won't be able to see other sim pilots out there flying, but you can see a leader list here of all the different pilots out there and their rankings within it. Now my number is substantially lower than other people out there for sure. But one thing that I'm really high on is the SkyWest. So if I click on the airline leaderboard here, you can see that I'm number 3 with SkyWest. So obviously I've flown the most of my flights with SkyWest. There is an expansion mode with the pilot's life. It is PA, so it gives you, PA announcements. It's pretty cool. It's nice, but it does get boring after a while because it's the same announcements over and over and over, and you can change it to be unique upon each flight, but you do have to customize the pack every single time then. And so I would really love to have it so that if you're using a certain license for an aircraft, that it would use that PA information. If you have it set up that kind of way, it doesn't, and it doesn't seem like they're going to end up making that happen in the future. If you go to settings here, one thing I do have is that it will automatically submit the flight report for you. You don't have to do this. It's just my recommendation. Totally up to you though if you want to. But this was a pilot's life review. It's a fantastic piece of software. Helps with the immersion of flight simming and gives you additional purpose to do those flights. As always, thanks for watching this video. Give me a comment down below if you're using a pilot's life or if you're using a different career mode, and we'll see you for the next one. Take care.